December 1, 1948. Somerton Beach, Adelaide, South Australia. 7 a.m. A couple is taking a morning walk along the beach when they notice a man lying against a seawall. He's wearing a white shirt, tie, brown trousers, and a brown knit pullover. His legs are crossed. One arm rests across his chest. He looks like he's sleeping. But he's not sleeping. He's dead. And this death would become one of the most baffling mysteries of the 20th century. What makes the Somerton man case so extraordinary? First, despite extensive investigation, no one could identify him for 73 years. His fingerprints were sent to every English-speaking country in the world. No match. His dental records were checked against every dentist in Australia and beyond. No match. His photograph was published in newspapers across the globe. No one came forward. For over 7 decades, he was a man without a name. Second, the evidence was bizarre. In his pockets, no wallet, no identification, no money. In a hidden pocket sewn into his trousers, a scrap of paper torn from a book. On the paper, 2 words in Persian, tamam shud. It is finished. It is ended. The book it came from was eventually found, mailed anonymously to police. Inside the book, a handwritten code. Letters and numbers arranged in 5 lines. Cryptographers have tried to crack it for 75 years. No one has succeeded. Third, the circumstances of death were impossible to explain. Autopsy showed he'd been poisoned. But what poison? No trace was found. His organs showed signs of acute gastric hemorrhage and congestion. But no poison could be detected with 1948 technology, or even modern technology. How do you poison someone without leaving any trace? Fourth, there was a woman. A woman who lived near Somerton Beach. A woman who, when shown the dead man's plaster cast face, nearly fainted. She said she didn't know him. But investigators believed she was lying. She took the secret to her grave in 2007. And fifth, the theory that won't go away. Was the Somerton man a spy? This was 1948. The Cold War was beginning. Australia was a strategic location. Nuclear testing would soon begin in the Australian desert. Was he killed by foreign agents? Was the code a ciphered message? The timing, the mystery, the poison, it all pointed to something more than just a man dying on a beach. In 2022, 73 years after his death, DNA technology finally gave the Somerton man a name. But knowing his identity only deepened the mystery. Because now we know who he was, but we still don't know why he died, what the code means, or what really happened on Somerton Beach that night. This is Cold Case Dossier, file number 005. The Somerton Man. An unknown body. An uncrackable code. A mystery that haunted the world for 73 years. Somerton Beach, 1948. He died with a secret. And took it to his grave. To understand the mystery of the Somerton Man, we need to start with the discovery of his body. December 1, 1948. Somerton Beach is a popular spot in Adelaide, South Australia. It's summer in Australia, warm, pleasant weather. The beach is a favorite for locals and tourists. The discovery, 7 a.m. A couple, Mr. and Mrs. J. Lyons, are taking their morning walk along the beach. As they walk near the seawall, they notice a man lying on the sand, his back against the concrete wall. Mrs. Lyons later recalled. He was well dressed. Clean. His legs were crossed, his head was resting back against the wall. One arm was extended upward, resting on the seawall. I thought he was asleep or perhaps drunk. The couple didn't think much of it. People sometimes slept on the beach after parties. They continued their walk. Throughout the morning, several other beachgoers noticed the man. An hour later, around 8 a.m., a couple with a baby saw him in the exact same position. By midday, people began to wonder if something was wrong. Why hadn't he moved? The sun was getting hot. It was unusual for someone to remain in that position for hours. The alarm, 6:30 p.m. At approximately 6:30 p.m., a local jeweler named John Bain Lyons, no relation to the couple who first saw the body, was walking his horses along the beach. The man was still there. In the same position. Nearly 12 hours had passed. Lyons approached the man and noticed something wrong. The man's arm was raised in an unnatural position, as if frozen. There were flies gathering around his face. Lyons touched the man's wrist to check for a pulse. No pulse. The skin was cold. The man was dead. Lyons immediately contacted police. Police arrive. At 6:45 p.m., Constable John Moss arrived at the scene. He examined the body and confirmed death. The man appeared to be in his early 40s, well-groomed, and well-dressed. Initial observations. Height, approximately 5 feet 11 inches, 180 centimeters, build, athletic, well-muscled hair, ginger brown, gray at the temples, neatly combed face, clean-shaven clothing, white shirt, red and blue striped tie, brown knit pullover, brown trousers, well-tailored, brown shoes, polished. Everything about the man suggested he was respectable, possibly middle or upper class. But there was something strange. No wallet. No identification. No money. His pockets contained a packet of chewing gum, juicy fruit, some matches, a pack of Army Club cigarettes, but inside were different cigarettes, Kensida's brand. A metal comb, American-made. A used bus ticket from Adelaide to Glenelg, a nearby suburb. Half a train ticket from Adelaide to Henley Beach. An unused second half of a train ticket. That was it. No identification whatsoever. The scene. Police examined the area around the body. No signs of struggle. No footprints suggesting someone had been with him. No evidence of violence. No blood. No weapon. The sand around him was undisturbed. It appeared the man had simply sat down against the seawall, crossed his legs, and died. But how? And why? Initial theories. Police initially suspected heart attack or natural causes. Perhaps the man had been drinking and suffered a medical emergency. But that didn't explain the lack of identification. Who goes to the beach without a wallet? Without any ID? And why would someone remove his identification after death? The body was transported to Royal Adelaide Hospital for examination. And that's when things got truly strange. On December 2, 1948, Dr. John Burton Cleland conducted the autopsy. What he found was medically baffling. External examination. The body showed no signs of violence. No bruises. No cuts or abrasions. No defensive wounds. No marks suggesting restraint or struggle. The man appeared healthy and well-nourished. His hands showed no calluses, suggesting he didn't do manual labor. His nails were well maintained. Everything suggested a man who took care of himself. But there was one odd detail. His calf muscles were unusually well developed, suggesting he walked or ran long distances regularly. Or perhaps had training in something physical. Internal examination. This is where the mystery deepened. Dr. Cleland opened the body and found stomach contents, blood and partly digested pasty, a type of meat pie popular in Australia. The stomach lining showed signs of acute hemorrhage, bleeding. The spleen was enlarged to 3 times normal size. The liver and kidneys showed congestion, blood pooling abnormally. The heart appeared healthy but showed some congestion. The brain appeared normal. Dr. Cleland's assessment. The organs show the characteristic signs of poisoning. However, I cannot identify the poison used. Toxicology tests. Blood and organ samples were sent for toxicology analysis. The tests came back negative for all common poisons. No arsenic. No cyanide. No strychnine. No barbiturates. Nothing. But the organs clearly showed signs of poisoning. How is that possible? Dr. Cleland theorized. The poison used was either extremely rare, or it degraded rapidly after death, leaving no trace. Modern theories on the poison. Forensic experts reviewing the case decades later have suggested several possibilities. 1. Digitalis, heart medication in high doses can cause the symptoms observed but degrades quickly. Difficult to detect in 1948. 2. Rare plant-based toxins, certain plant alkaloids can cause gastric hemorrhage and leave minimal trace. 3. Barbiturates or opiates. 1948 toxicology wasn't sensitive enough to detect small amounts. For exotic poisons, some have speculated about poison used by intelligence agencies, substances designed to kill without leaving evidence. But the truth is, we don't know. The poison that killed the Somerton man has never been identified. Time of death. Based on body temperature, rigor mortis, and witness testimony, Dr. Cleland estimated death occurred between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. on December 1. This meant the man had been dead for approximately 15 to 17 hours before his body was discovered at 6:30 p.m. Witnesses who saw him earlier in the day had been looking at a corpse. Cause of death, official conclusion. Dr. Cleland's official ruling. Death due to acute gastric hemorrhage, cause unknown. Possibly poisoning by an unidentified substance. In other words, we know he was poisoned, but we don't know with what, how, or by whom. With no identification on the body, police launched an extensive investigation. Step 1. Missing persons. Police checked missing persons reports across Australia. No one matching the Somerton man's description had been reported missing. They expanded the search to New Zealand, the UK, and other Commonwealth countries. Still nothing. How could a well-dressed, healthy man in his 40s simply not be missed by anyone? Step 2. Fingerprints. The Somerton man's fingerprints were taken and sent to every police department in Australia. Scotland Yard, UK. The FBI, USA. Intelligence agencies across the British Commonwealth. No match anywhere. This was extraordinary. In 1948, fingerprint databases were extensive. Career criminals, military personnel, government employees, all were in the system. The Somerton man wasn't in any database. Step 3. Dental records. Police sent the man's dental chart to every registered dentist in Australia. The dentist responsible for his dental work would recognize the pattern of fillings and extractions. No dentist came forward. They expanded to international dental associations. Still nothing. His dental work was unusual, high quality, suggesting expensive care, but with techniques that didn't match any known Australian dentist's style. Step 4. Photograph and description. Police took photographs of the body and made a plaster cast of his face. This practice was common in the 1940s for unidentified bodies. The photograph and description were published in newspapers across Australia. Unidentified man found dead at Somerton Beach. Height, 5 feet 11 inches. Age, approximately 40 to 45. Hair, ginger brown with grey temples. Build, athletic, muscular. Distinguishing features, well-developed calf muscles, unusually pointed ears. The story ran for weeks. Hundreds of people contacted police. But every lead went nowhere. People claimed to recognize him, but when investigated, it was always a case of mistaken identity. Step 5. Clothing analysis. With no ID, police turned to the man's clothing for clues. This is where things got even stranger. The clothing analysis revealed something shocking. All identification labels had been removed. Every single one. His shirt, no brand label. The tag had been carefully cut out. His trousers, no label. Cut out. His pullover, no label. His tie, label removed. His coat, found nearby, label removed. Even his shoes had any identifiable markings removed. This wasn't accidental wear and tear. Someone had deliberately removed every label that could identify where the clothes came from. But why? Police consulted with tailors and clothing manufacturers. The clothing was high quality but not custom-made. It appeared to be mass-produced, possibly American or British in origin. The style suggested the man had taste and means. These weren't cheap clothes. But without labels, there was no way to trace them. Step 6. The suitcase. On January 14, 1949, 6 weeks after the body was found, police received a tip. A suitcase had been left at Adelaide Railway Station's cloakroom on November 30, 1948. The day before the Somerton man's estimated death. The suitcase had never been claimed. Police retrieved it and opened it. Inside, a reel of orange thread. A screwdriver. A pair of scissors, sharpened in an unusual way, as if for a specific purpose. Several pieces of clothing. A stenciling brush, used for marking clothes or luggage. A table knife that had been modified into a sharp tool. And most importantly, multiple clothing items with all labels removed. But 3 items had one thing in common, a name sewn into them in an unusual way. The name, T. Keane, or possibly Keane. Finally, a lead. Police searched for anyone named T. Keane who had gone missing or matched the description. They found no one. Was T. Keane the Somerton man's real name? Or was it a false identity? The suitcase also contained dry cleaning marks showing it had been cleaned in Adelaide. American-style thread and stitching. Pants that had been shortened recently. Several items of clothing that were too small for the Somerton man. This suggested either, A. the suitcase belonged to someone else, B. the man had lost weight recently, C. it was a deliberately planted false trail. The investigation stalls. By February 1949, police had exhausted most leads. They had no identification. No missing persons match. No fingerprint match. No one claiming the body. A possible false name. Deliberately removed clothing labels. An unidentifiable poison. And then, someone found the scrap of paper. April 1949, 4 months after the body's discovery. Police were re-examining the Somerton man's clothing when Detective Sergeant Lionel Lean made a discovery. Hidden in a small, secret pocket sewn into the waistband of the man's trousers, he found something. A tiny scrap of paper, tightly rolled up. On the paper, 2 words were printed. Tamam shud. The words were from Persian, Farsi, an ancient language of Persia, modern-day Iran. The translation, "It is ended" or "It is finished." But this wasn't just any piece of paper. The edges were torn, suggesting it had been ripped from a book. Police consulted with language experts at the University of Adelaide. Professor Cleland, who had conducted the autopsy, recognized the phrase immediately. It came from the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The Rubaiyat. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is a collection of Persian poetry written in the 11th century by Omar Khayyam, a Persian mathematician, astronomer, and poet. The poems were translated into English in 1859 by Edward Fitzgerald and became popular in Western literature. The phrase, "Tamam shud," appears at the very end of the collection, the final words of the final poem. It's a poetic way of saying, the end. Why would someone tear out the final page of this book and hide it in a secret pocket? Was it a message? A clue? A calling card? Police launched a public appeal. Anyone who owns a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, with the final page torn out, should contact police immediately. The appeal. For months, nothing happened. Then, in July 1949, a man came forward. He wished to remain anonymous, and to this day, his identity has never been publicly confirmed. The man said, "On November 30, 1948, the day before the Somerton man was found, I was parked at Somerton Beach. When I returned to my car, I found a book on the back seat. I didn't think much of it at the time. But after hearing about the case, I checked the book. The book was a rare first edition of the Fitzgerald translation of the Rubaiyat. And the final page had been torn out. Police examined the book. The torn edge matched the scrap found on the Somerton man's body perfectly. This was the book. But there was more. Much more. The code. On the back cover of the book, someone had written in pencil 5 lines of letters, seemingly random. Mergoababd. Mtbimpanip. Mlyaboayak. Itnt Samstgab. And below that, another line that had been crossed out, but was still partially visible. Cryptographers immediately recognized this as a potential code or cipher. But what did it mean? Police brought in codebreakers from Australian intelligence, military cryptographers, and academic experts. No one could crack it. Theories about the code. 1. A substitution cipher, each letter represents another letter. 2. An acrostic, the first letter of each line spells something. 3. Coordinates or numbers, letters representing numbers or map coordinates. 4. Initials, each letter represents a person's initials. 5. A book cipher, letters reference specific pages/lines in another book. 6. Random letters, not a code at all, just meaningless scribbles. To this day, 75 years later, the code has never been definitively solved. Dozens of amateur and professional cryptographers have tried. Some claim to have solved it, but none of the solutions have been universally accepted. The phone number. There was one more clue in the book. On one of the pages, there was a faint pencil mark, possibly a phone number. Police traced the number. It belonged to a woman named Jessica Ellen Thompson, who lived in Glenelg, a suburb very close to Somerton Beach. And this is where the case takes its most mysterious turn. July 1949. Police knocked on the door of Jessica Ellen Thompson, known as Jestin. She was a 27-year-old nurse living in Glenelg with her young son, Robin. When police explained why they were there, Jestin seemed shocked. They showed her the plaster cast of the Somerton man's face. According to Detective Sergeant Lean, who was present, she looked at the cast and immediately appeared to be about to faint. She became extremely pale and had to steady herself against the wall. I asked her if she knew this man. She said no. But police didn't believe her. Her reaction was too strong, too emotional, for someone seeing a stranger's face. Jestin's story. Jestin told police the following. In 1945, during World War II, she had worked as a nurse. She met a man named Alfred Boxall, an Australian soldier. They had a brief relationship. Before he left for his deployment, she gave him a copy of The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam as a gift. She inscribed it, to Alf. Jestin. 1945. That was the last time she saw him. She assumed he had died in the war. Police immediately pursued this lead. Was the Somerton man actually Alfred Boxall? The search for Alfred Boxall. Police launched a nationwide search for Alfred Boxall. In August 1949, they found him. Alive. Living in Sydney. And still in possession of the copy of The Rubaiyat that Jestin had given him in 1945. Boxall was not the Somerton man. So if the Somerton man wasn't Boxall, why did he have Jestin's phone number? Why did he have a copy of the same book she had given to a lover? And why did Jestin react so strongly when she saw his face? Police questioned Jestin again. She insisted she didn't know the dead man. But police believed she was hiding something. The clues that don't add up. Investigators found several connections between Jestin and the Somerton man. 1. Geographic proximity. Jestin lived walking distance from Somerton Beach. 2. The book connected to her in a deeply personal way. 3. Her reaction. Her physical response suggested recognition, not confusion. For timing, her husband had left her around the time of the Somerton man's death. 5. Her son. Some investigators noted that Jestin's son, Robin, born in 1947, bore a striking resemblance to the Somerton man. Could the Somerton man have been Robin's biological father? Was this a case of a secret affair? Did Jestin know more than she admitted? Theories about Jestin. Theory 1, Secret Lover. Perhaps the Somerton man and Jestin had an affair in 1946 to 1947. Robin was born in July 1947, the timing fits. Perhaps the Somerton man came to Adelaide to see Jestin or Robin. Perhaps Jestin's husband, or someone else, found out and killed him. Evidence supporting Jestin's reaction, Robin's resemblance to the Somerton man, her evasiveness. Evidence against, no proof of any relationship. Jestin denied knowing him until her death in 2007. Theory 2, Espionage connection. Perhaps Jestin and the Somerton man were both involved in espionage. Jestin worked as a nurse during World War II. Intelligence services often recruited medical personnel. The Somerton man may have been a spy or courier. The Rubaiyat may have been a recognition signal, a way for spies to identify each other. Evidence supporting: the coded message, the removed labels, the mysterious circumstances, the Cold War timing. Evidence against: no hard evidence of espionage connections. Theory 3: Justin truly didn't know him. Perhaps the Somerton man obtained her phone number some other way. Perhaps he was a stalker or someone obsessed with her. Perhaps her strong reaction was simply shock and fear. Evidence supporting: Justin's consistent denial. Evidence against: too many coincidences. The book, the location, her reaction, all suggest a deeper connection. Justin's later life. Justin remarried and changed her name. She refused to speak about the Somerton man case for the rest of her life. When journalists and investigators tried to contact her over the decades, she declined all interviews. In 2007, Justin, now known by her married name, Jessica Thompson, died at age 83. She took whatever she knew to her grave. Her son, Robin Thompson, died in 2009. Before his death, Robin said in an interview, "My mother did know something. I'm sure of it. But she would never tell me. She became upset whenever the topic came up." Robin also noted something strange. He shared several unusual physical traits with the Somerton man. Unusually shaped ears. Specific dental characteristics. A rare genetic condition affecting teeth. The odds of these traits coinciding randomly are extremely low. In 2009, before his death, Robin allowed researchers to take his DNA. This DNA would later prove crucial in identifying the Somerton man. From the beginning, some investigators suspected the Somerton man might have been a spy. The timing was perfect: 1948, the beginning of the Cold War. Australia was a strategic location for both Western and Soviet intelligence. Let's examine the evidence for espionage. Evidence number 1, the timing and location. 1948. World War II had ended 3 years earlier. The Cold War was beginning. The Soviet Union was expanding its espionage network. Australia was allied with the UK and USA. Nuclear weapons testing would soon begin in the Australian desert. Adelaide and South Australia. Port Adelaide was a major naval installation. Woomera Rocket Range, a classified missile testing site, would open nearby in 1947. British and American military personnel were stationed in the area. Several defense contractors and research facilities operated in South Australia. If someone wanted to conduct espionage in Australia, Adelaide would be a logical location. Evidence number 2, the removed labels. Every identification marker on the Somerton man's clothing had been deliberately removed. This is a classic intelligence tradecraft technique. Spies remove labels to prevent tracing the origin of clothing, identifying the person's home country, linking the person to specific stores or manufacturers. The thoroughness of the label removal suggests professional training. Evidence number 3, the code. The code found in the Rubaiyat has never been definitively solved. But it has characteristics of espionage-related codes. Short and concise. Letters only, no numbers. 5 lines, potentially 5 recipients or 5 messages. Crossed out line, possibly a mistake or correction. Intelligence analysts have noted the code resembles one-time pad ciphers, used extensively by spies. Book ciphers, where each letter references a word in a specific book. Playfair ciphers, a manual encryption method popular in the 1940s. Without the key, the code remains unbreakable. Evidence number 4, The poison. The use of an undetectable poison is consistent with intelligence agency methods. During the Cold War, both the CIA and KGB developed poisons specifically designed to kill quickly, leave minimal trace, mimic natural death. Poisons used by intelligence agencies in the 1940s included ricin, plant-based toxin; digitalis, heart medication in high doses; thallium, heavy metal poison; exotic plant alkaloids. All of these can cause the symptoms observed in the Somerton man while being difficult to detect with 1948 technology. Evidence number 5, the suitcase. The suitcase found at Adelaide railway station contained items consistent with espionage. A stenciling brush, used for marking documents or forging stamps. A table knife modified into a tool, possibly for opening sealed envelopes without detection. Scissors sharpened in an unusual way, precision cutting for documents. Clothing with labels removed, standard intelligence practice. Evidence number 6, the rubaiyat. The rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam has historical significance in espionage. During World War II and the early Cold War, books like the rubaiyat were sometimes used as recognition signals. How it worked. 2 agents would each have a specific edition of a book. To confirm identity, they would show the book or quote specific passages. The torn page might have been a signal, "I am here. Meet me." The fact that both Jestin and the Somerton man were connected to the rubaiyat suggests a possible espionage link. Specific spy theories. Theory A, Soviet spy. The Somerton man was a Soviet intelligence officer operating in Australia. He was gathering information about Allied military installations. He was poisoned by Western counterintelligence agents who discovered his identity. Evidence: the poison, the code, the removed labels, the professional tradecraft. Theory B, double agent. The Somerton man was an Allied spy who had been turned by the Soviets. He came to Adelaide to meet his handler, possibly Jestin. He was killed by his own side when they discovered his betrayal. Evidence: the connection to Jestin, the mysterious circumstances, the coded message. Theory C, courier. The Somerton man was a courier carrying intelligence materials. He wasn't an agent himself, just someone delivering messages or documents. He was intercepted and killed to prevent the delivery. Evidence: the suitcase, the code, possibly the message he was carrying, the lack of other espionage connections. Theory D, false flag. The Somerton man was not a spy at all. Someone wanted it to look like espionage to cover up a more mundane murder. The code, the removed labels, the poison, all staged. Evidence: the lack of any confirmed espionage connections, the theatrical nature of the clues. The counterarguments. Not everyone accepts the spy theory. Critics point out 1. No corroborating evidence. No intelligence agency has ever confirmed the Somerton man was an agent. 2. Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct. Perhaps it was just a suicide or accident with unusual circumstances. 3. The code might not be a code, it could be random letters, a poem, or personal notes. For confirmation bias, we see patterns because we want to see them. The spy theory is exciting, but that doesn't make it true. 5. Declassified documents show nothing. Intelligence agencies in Australia, the UK, and the USA have declassified millions of documents from the 1940s. None mention the Somerton man. The verdict. Was the Somerton man a spy? Possibly. The circumstantial evidence is compelling. But without hard proof, without documents, without testimony, without confirmation from intelligence agencies, we can't be certain. What we can say is this. The circumstances of the Somerton man's death are consistent with an intelligence operation gone wrong. Whether he was the spy, the target, or simply an innocent man caught in something larger, we may never know. But the timing, the location, the tradecraft, and the mystery all point to something more than a random death on a beach. While the spy theory is compelling, investigators have explored other possibilities. Let's examine the alternative explanations for the Somerton man's death. Theory 1: Suicide. Perhaps the Somerton man took his own life. Evidence supporting suicide. 1. The final message, tamam shud, means, it is finished, a phrase often associated with endings and death. 2. The poison, he may have self-administered poison. 3. No signs of struggle, his peaceful position suggests he wasn't fighting for his life. 4. Removed labels, he wanted to die anonymously, without his family being notified or shamed. 5. The beach location, he chose a beautiful, peaceful place to die. 6. The code, perhaps not a code at all, but a suicide note written in a personal cipher only he understood. Problems with suicide theory. 1. Why remove all labels? If you're committing suicide, why go to such elaborate lengths to hide your identity? 2. The suitcase, why leave a suitcase at the station if you're about to die? 3. No suicide note, apart from the ambiguous, tamam shud, there was no clear suicide message. For Justin's reaction, her emotional response suggests she knew something about his death, not consistent with an anonymous suicide. 5. The timing, he checked the suitcase at the station the day before his death. Suicidal people don't usually make travel arrangements. Verdict, possible, but unlikely. Too many unanswered questions. Theory 2, accidental death/medical episode. Perhaps the Somerton man died from natural causes or an accidental overdose. Evidence supporting accidental death. 1. No violence, no signs of attack or struggle. 2. Heart condition, some researchers have suggested he may have had an undiagnosed heart condition. 3. Medication interaction, he may have accidentally mixed medications that caused a fatal reaction. For the cigarettes, the pack of Army Club cigarettes containing different brand cigarettes inside. Were they drugged? Did he smoke them not knowing they were dangerous? Problems with accidental death theory. 1. The removed labels, still unexplained. 2. The code, why would someone dying accidentally have a coded message? 3. The autopsy, Dr. Cleland was confident the death was not natural. For the hidden pocket, the tamam shud paper was hidden in a secret pocket, suggesting intentionality. Verdict, very unlikely. The evidence points to something deliberate, not accidental. Theory 3, crime of passion/revenge killing. Perhaps the Somerton man was killed by a jealous lover or someone seeking revenge. The scenario. The Somerton man had an affair with Justin. He was the father of her son, Robin. Justin's husband, or another jealous party, discovered the affair. He was poisoned as revenge. The mysterious circumstances were created to confuse investigators. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. Justin's reaction, she clearly knew him and was deeply affected by his death. 2. Robin's resemblance, the physical similarities between Robin and the Somerton man suggest a biological connection. 3. The location, he died near Justin's home, was he coming to see her? For the timing, Justin's relationship status was complicated around this time. 5. The poison, access to medical-grade poisons would be easy for a nurse, Justin, or someone in her circle. Problems with this theory. 1. The elaborate cover-up. Why remove all labels if it's a crime of passion? Those are usually impulsive, not meticulously planned. 2. The code. How does a coded message fit into a jealous lover scenario? 3. The suitcase. Why would he leave a suitcase at the station if he was just visiting a lover? For no evidence of relationship, despite speculation, there's no proof the Somerton man and Justin ever met before. Verdict: possible. This theory explains Justin's behavior and Robin's resemblance. But it doesn't explain the elaborate tradecraft, removed labels, code, hidden pocket. Theory 4: organized crime. Perhaps the Somerton man was involved in criminal activity, smuggling, black market operations, or organized crime. Evidence supporting organized crime theory. 1. Post-war black market. In 1948, there was significant black market activity in Australia. Rationing was still in effect, goods were scarce. 2. The removed labels, standard practice for criminals to avoid identification. 3. The poison, professional hit, designed to look like natural death. For the suitcase contents, some items, modified knife, stenciling equipment, could be tools for forgery or counterfeiting. 5. No one claimed the body, criminal associates wouldn't come forward. Problems with organized crime theory. 1. The code doesn't fit typical criminal activity. 2. The rubaiyat, too literary, too sophisticated for most criminal operations. 3. His appearance, he looked respectable, well-groomed, not fitting the typical criminal profile of the era. For no criminal connections found, police investigated this angle and found no links to known criminal organizations. Verdict: unlikely. While possible, there's little evidence connecting him to criminal activity. Theory 5: witness protection/false identity. Perhaps the Somerton man was living under an assumed identity, hiding from something or someone. The scenario: he had witnessed a crime or been involved in something dangerous. He fled to Australia to hide. He removed all identifying labels to maintain his false identity. He was eventually found and killed. T. Keane was his assumed name. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. No identity match anywhere. Despite extensive searching, no one matched his description in any database. 2. Professional identity erasure. The removed labels suggest someone trained in disappearing. 3. The suitcase, prepared for quick departure if needed. For high-quality clothing, he had money, suggesting he wasn't a common criminal. Problems with this theory. 1. Why stay in Australia? If hiding, why not keep moving? 2. The code and book don't fit witness protection scenario. 3. Justin connection. How does she fit into this? Verdict: possible but speculative. Explains the identity erasure but not the other strange elements. Theory 6: the Prosper Thompson connection. This theory emerged decades after the initial investigation. Prosper Thompson was Justin's husband. They married in 1950, 2 years after the Somerton man's death. Some researchers noticed something strange. Prosper Thompson worked as a physicist. He had connections to the Radium Hill uranium mine and other classified projects. Could Prosper have been involved in intelligence work? The theory: Prosper was an intelligence asset. Justin was his contact or handler. The Somerton man was part of the same network. Something went wrong, and the Somerton man had to be eliminated. Justin married Prosper to cover up their intelligence connections. Evidence: 1. Prosper's work. He had security clearances and worked on classified projects. 2. Justin's behavior. her lifelong silence makes more sense if she was protecting intelligence operations. 3. The timing. She married Prosper shortly after the Somerton man case went cold. Problems. 1. Highly speculative. No hard evidence connecting Prosper to intelligence work. 2. Prosper denied everything. Before his death, Prosper said he knew nothing about the case. 3. No documentation. No intelligence files mention any of these people. Verdict. Intriguing but unprovable. While the spy theory is compelling, investigators have explored other possibilities. Let's examine the alternative explanations for the Somerton man's death. Theory 1. Suicide. Perhaps the Somerton man took his own life. Evidence supporting suicide. 1. The final message, tamam shud, means, it is finished, a phrase often associated with endings and death. 2. The poison, he may have self-administered poison. 3. No signs of struggle, his peaceful position suggests he wasn't fighting for his life. 4. Removed labels, he wanted to die anonymously, without his family being notified or shamed. 5. The beach location, he chose a beautiful, peaceful place to die. 6. The code, perhaps not a code at all, but a suicide note written in a personal cipher only he understood. Problems with suicide theory. 1. Why remove all labels? If you're committing suicide, why go to such elaborate lengths to hide your identity? 2. The suitcase, why leave a suitcase at the station if you're about to die? 3. No suicide note, apart from the ambiguous, tamam shud, there was no clear suicide message. For Justin's reaction, her emotional response suggests she knew something about his death, not consistent with an anonymous suicide. 5. The timing, he checked the suitcase at the station the day before his death. Suicidal people don't usually make travel arrangements. Verdict, possible, but unlikely. Too many unanswered questions. Theory 2, accidental death/medical episode. Perhaps the Somerton man died from natural causes or an accidental overdose. Evidence supporting accidental death. 1. No violence, no signs of attack or struggle. 2. Heart condition, some researchers have suggested he may have had an undiagnosed heart condition. 3. Medication interaction, he may have accidentally mixed medications that caused a fatal reaction. For the cigarettes, the pack of Army Club cigarettes containing different brand cigarettes inside. Were they drugged? Did he smoke them not knowing they were dangerous? Problems with accidental death theory. 1. The removed labels, still unexplained. 2. The code, why would someone dying accidentally have a coded message? 3. The autopsy, Dr. Cleland was confident the death was not natural. For the hidden pocket, the tamam shud paper was hidden in a secret pocket, suggesting intentionality. Verdict, very unlikely. The evidence points to something deliberate, not accidental. Theory 3, crime of passion/revenge killing. Perhaps the Somerton man was killed by a jealous lover or someone seeking revenge. The scenario. The Somerton man had an affair with Justin. He was the father of her son, Robin. Justin's husband, or another jealous party, discovered the affair. He was poisoned as revenge. The mysterious circumstances were created to confuse investigators. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. Justin's reaction, she clearly knew him and was deeply affected by his death. 2. Robin's resemblance, the physical similarities between Robin and the Somerton man suggest a biological connection. 3. The location, he died near Justin's home, was he coming to see her? For the timing, Justin's relationship status was complicated around this time. 5. The poison, access to medical-grade poisons would be easy for a nurse, Justin, or someone in her circle. Problems with this theory. 1. The elaborate cover-up. Why remove all labels if it's a crime of passion? Those are usually impulsive, not meticulously planned. 2. The code. How does a coded message fit into a jealous lover scenario? 3. The suitcase. Why would he leave a suitcase at the station if he was just visiting a lover? For no evidence of relationship, despite speculation, there's no proof the Somerton man and Justin ever met before. Verdict: possible. This theory explains Justin's behavior and Robin's resemblance. But it doesn't explain the elaborate tradecraft, removed labels, code, hidden pocket. Theory 4. Organized crime. Perhaps the Somerton man was involved in criminal activity, smuggling, black market operations, or organized crime. Evidence supporting organized crime theory. 1. Post-war black market. In 1948, there was significant black market activity in Australia. Rationing was still in effect, goods were scarce. 2. The removed labels, standard practice for criminals to avoid identification. 3. The poison, professional hit, designed to look like natural death. For the suitcase contents, some items, modified knife, stenciling equipment, could be tools for forgery or counterfeiting. 5. No one claimed the body. Criminal associates wouldn't come forward. Problems with organized crime theory. 1. The code doesn't fit typical criminal activity. 2. The rubaiyat, too literary, too sophisticated for most criminal operations. 3. His appearance, he looked respectable, well-groomed, not fitting the typical criminal profile of the era. For no criminal connections found, police investigated this angle and found no links to known criminal organizations. Verdict: unlikely. While possible, there's little evidence connecting him to criminal activity. Theory 5. Witness protection/false identity. Perhaps the Somerton man was living under an assumed identity, hiding from something or someone. The scenario: he had witnessed a crime or been involved in something dangerous. He fled to Australia to hide. He removed all identifying labels to maintain his false identity. He was eventually found and killed. Keen was his assumed name. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. No identity match anywhere. Despite extensive searching, no one matched his description in any database. 2. Professional identity erasure. The removed labels suggest someone trained in disappearing. 3. The suitcase, prepared for quick departure if needed. For high-quality clothing, he had money, suggesting he wasn't a common criminal. Problems with this theory. 1. Why stay in Australia? If hiding, why not keep moving? 2. The code and book don't fit witness protection scenario. 3. Justin connection. How does she fit into this? Verdict: possible but speculative. Explains the identity erasure but not the other strange elements. Theory 6. The Prosper Thompson connection. This theory emerged decades after the initial investigation. Prosper Thompson was Justin's husband. They married in 1950, 2 years after the Somerton man's death. Some researchers noticed something strange. Prosper Thompson worked as a physicist. He had connections to the Radium Hill uranium mine and other classified projects. Could Prosper have been involved in intelligence work? The theory: Prosper was an intelligence asset. Justin was his contact or handler. The Somerton man was part of the same network. Something went wrong, and the Somerton man had to be eliminated. Justin married Prosper to cover up their intelligence connections. Evidence: 1. Prosper's work. he had security clearances and worked on classified projects. 2. Justin's behavior. Her lifelong silence makes more sense if she was protecting intelligence operations. 3. The timing. She married Prosper shortly after the Somerton man case went cold. Problems. 1. Highly speculative. No hard evidence connecting Prosper to intelligence work. 2. Prosper denied everything. Before his death, Prosper said he knew nothing about the case. 3. No documentation. No intelligence files mention any of these people. Verdict. Intriguing but unprovable. While the spy theory is compelling, investigators have explored other possibilities. Let's examine the alternative explanations for the Somerton man's death. Theory 1. Suicide. Perhaps the Somerton man took his own life. Evidence supporting suicide. 1. The final message, tamam shud, means, it is finished, a phrase often associated with endings and death. 2. The poison, he may have self-administered poison. 3. No signs of struggle. His peaceful position suggests he wasn't fighting for his life. For removed labels, he wanted to die anonymously, without his family being notified or shamed. 5. The beach location, he chose a beautiful, peaceful place to die. 6. The code, perhaps not a code at all, but a suicide note written in a personal cipher only he understood. Problems with suicide theory. 1. Why remove all labels? If you're committing suicide, why go to such elaborate lengths to hide your identity? 2. The suitcase. Why leave a suitcase at the station if you're about to die? 3. No suicide note. Apart from the ambiguous, tamam shud, there was no clear suicide message. For Justin's reaction, her emotional response suggests she knew something about his death, not consistent with an anonymous suicide. 5. The timing, he checked the suitcase at the station the day before his death. Suicidal people don't usually make travel arrangements. Verdict, possible, but unlikely. Too many unanswered questions. Theory 2, accidental death/medical episode. Perhaps the Somerton man died from natural causes or an accidental overdose. Evidence supporting accidental death. 1. No violence, no signs of attack or struggle. 2. Heart condition. Some researchers have suggested he may have had an undiagnosed heart condition. 3. Medication interaction. He may have accidentally mixed medications that caused a fatal reaction. For the cigarettes, the pack of Army Club cigarettes containing different brand cigarettes inside. Were they drugged? Did he smoke them not knowing they were dangerous? Problems with accidental death theory. 1. The removed labels, still unexplained. 2. The code, why would someone dying accidentally have a coded message? 3. The autopsy, Dr. Cleland was confident the death was not natural. For the hidden pocket, the tamam shud paper was hidden in a secret pocket, suggesting intentionality. Verdict, very unlikely. The evidence points to something deliberate, not accidental. Theory 3, crime of passion/revenge killing. Perhaps the Somerton man was killed by a jealous lover or someone seeking revenge. The scenario. The Somerton man had an affair with Justin. He was the father of her son, Robin. Justin's husband, or another jealous party, discovered the affair. He was poisoned as revenge. The mysterious circumstances were created to confuse investigators. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. Justin's reaction, she clearly knew him and was deeply affected by his death. 2. Robin's resemblance, the physical similarities between Robin and the Somerton man suggest a biological connection. 3. The location, he died near Justin's home, was he coming to see her? For the timing, Justin's relationship status was complicated around this time. 5. The poison. Access to medical-grade poisons would be easy for a nurse, Justin, or someone in her circle. Problems with this theory. 1. The elaborate cover-up. Why remove all labels if it's a crime of passion? Those are usually impulsive, not meticulously planned. 2. The code. How does a coded message fit into a jealous lover scenario? 3. The suitcase. Why would he leave a suitcase at the station if he was just visiting a lover? For no evidence of relationship, despite speculation, there's no proof the Somerton man and Justin ever met before. Verdict: possible. This theory explains Justin's behavior and Robin's resemblance. But it doesn't explain the elaborate tradecraft, removed labels, code, hidden pocket. Theory 4. Organized crime. Perhaps the Somerton man was involved in criminal activity, smuggling, black market operations, or organized crime. Evidence supporting organized crime theory. 1. Post-war black market. In 1948, there was significant black market activity in Australia. Rationing was still in effect, goods were scarce. 2. The removed labels, standard practice for criminals to avoid identification. 3. The poison, professional hit, designed to look like natural death. For the suitcase contents, some items, modified knife, stenciling equipment, could be tools for forgery or counterfeiting. 5. No one claimed the body, criminal associates wouldn't come forward. Problems with organized crime theory. 1. The code doesn't fit typical criminal activity. 2. The rubaiyat, too literary, too sophisticated for most criminal operations. 3. His appearance, he looked respectable, well-groomed, not fitting the typical criminal profile of the era. For no criminal connections found, police investigated this angle and found no links to known criminal organizations. Verdict: unlikely. While possible, there's little evidence connecting him to criminal activity. Theory 5. Witness protection/false identity. Perhaps the Somerton man was living under an assumed identity, hiding from something or someone. The scenario: he had witnessed a crime or been involved in something dangerous. He fled to Australia to hide. He removed all identifying labels to maintain his false identity. He was eventually found and killed. Keane was his assumed name. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. No identity match anywhere. Despite extensive searching, no one matched his description in any database. 2. Professional identity erasure. The removed labels suggest someone trained in disappearing. 3. The suitcase, prepared for quick departure if needed. For high-quality clothing, he had money, suggesting he wasn't a common criminal. Problems with this theory. 1. Why stay in Australia? If hiding, why not keep moving? 2. The code and book don't fit witness protection scenario. 3. Justin connection, how does she fit into this? Verdict: possible but speculative. Explains the identity erasure but not the other strange elements. Theory 6. The Prosper Thompson connection. This theory emerged decades after the initial investigation. Prosper Thompson was Justin's husband. They married in 1950, 2 years after the Somerton man's death. Some researchers noticed something strange. Prosper Thompson worked as a physicist. He had connections to the Radium Hill uranium mine and other classified projects. Could Prosper have been involved in intelligence work? The theory: Prosper was an intelligence asset. Justin was his contact or handler. The Somerton man was part of the same network. Something went wrong, and the Somerton man had to be eliminated. Justin married Prosper to cover up their intelligence connections. Evidence. 1. Prosper's work. He had security clearances and worked on classified projects. 2. Justin's behavior. Her lifelong silence makes more sense if she was protecting intelligence operations. 3. The timing. She married Prosper shortly after the Somerton man case went cold. Problems. 1. Highly speculative. No hard evidence connecting Prosper to intelligence work. 2. Prosper denied everything. Before his death, Prosper said he knew nothing about the case. 3. No documentation. No intelligence files mention any of these people. Verdict. Intriguing but unprovable. For 75 years, the code found in the Rubaiyat has obsessed cryptographers, amateur sleuths, and codebreakers worldwide. Let's examine the attempts to crack it. The code. Rgobabd. Mlyaboayak. Mtbimpanip. Itntsamstgab. And a fifth line that was crossed out but partially visible. What is this? A cipher? A code? Random letters? Attempt 1, Simple Substitution Cipher, 1949. The first cryptographers assumed it was a simple substitution cipher, where each letter represents another letter. Example, a laughing face, B equals E, C equals F, etc. They tried every possible substitution pattern. Result, no meaningful English words emerged. Conclusion, if it's a substitution cipher, it's not a simple one. Attempt 2, Acrostic/initials, 1950s. Perhaps each letter represents the first letter of a word or name. Theories included. Names of contacts or agents. First letters of a message, meet at, location. Initials of people involved in the case. Investigators tried matching the letters to names of people connected to the case. Result, no convincing match. Conclusion, if it's initials, we don't know whose. Attempt 3, Book Cipher, 1960s to 1970s. A book cipher uses a specific book as the key. Each letter could represent a page number, a line number, a word position. Cryptographers tried using the Rubaiyat itself as the key. They also tried other books popular in 1948. Result, no coherent message emerged. Conclusion, if it's a book cipher, we don't have the right book. Attempt 4, Playfair Cipher, 1980s. The Playfair cipher was popular in military communications in the 1940s. It uses a 5x5 grid of letters and encrypts pairs of letters. Experts in World War II-era ciphers analyzed the code using Playfair techniques. Result, some patterns emerged, but no definitive message. Conclusion, possibly a Playfair cipher, but we don't have the key. Attempt 5, One-Time Pad, 1990s to 2000s. A one-time pad is an unbreakable cipher if used correctly. Each letter is encrypted using a random key that's only used once. Without the key, the message is impossible to decode. Intelligence analysts noted the code has characteristics of a one-time pad. Short. No repeating patterns. No obvious structure. Result, if it's a one-time pad, it's unbreakable without the key. Conclusion, this might be why no one has cracked it. Attempt 6, Not a Code at All, 2000s to 2010s. Some researchers began questioning whether it's a code at all. Alternative theories. Theory A, Random letters. Perhaps the letters are meaningless, just scribbles or doodling. But counter-argument, the letters are too deliberate, too carefully written. Theory B, Personal shorthand. Perhaps it's a personal notation system only the writer understood. Example: M equals meat, T equals Tuesday, etc. But counter-argument: why would he write it in a way no one else could understand? Theory C: poetry or song lyrics. Perhaps the letters represent first letters of lines in a poem. Musical notation. A mnemonic device. Some researchers have tried matching the pattern to poetry, especially from the Rubaiyat itself. Result: no convincing match. Theory D: telephone numbers. Perhaps the letters encode telephone numbers. Old telephone exchanges used letter prefixes, like Murray or Trinity. Researchers tried converting the letters to phone numbers using 1940s Australian exchange systems. Result: several phone numbers emerged, but when investigated, they led nowhere. Attempt 7, Computer Analysis, 2010s to 2020s. With modern computing power, researchers have used AI and machine learning to analyze the code. Techniques used: frequency analysis, comparing letter frequency to known ciphers. Pattern recognition algorithms. Brute force attacks, trying billions of possible keys. Neural networks trained on World War II-era codes. Result: computers have found some interesting patterns but no definitive solution. One AI analysis suggested the code might be a combination of two different ciphers layered together. But even this hasn't led to a solution. Attempt 8, the initial theory, most popular amateur solution. The most popular amateur theory is that each letter represents a person's initials. Specifically, researchers have tried to match the letters to people connected to the case. M equals man, the Somerton man. T equals Thompson, Jestin's married name. J equals Jestin. R equals Robin, Jestin's son. G equals Glenelg, location. And so on. Some researchers have constructed elaborate theories where the code spells out a message like: "My betrayal is Adelaide, betrayed Queensland contact." But these solutions require cherry-picking letter meanings and don't hold up to scrutiny. The most compelling theory: it's a personal code. After 75 years of attempts, the most likely explanation is: the code was personal, meaningful only to the writer and possibly one other person. It might be a love letter encrypted so only the recipient, Jestin, could understand. A personal reminder or note to self. A way to remember important information, addresses, dates, names. If this is true, we'll never crack it. Because the key died with the Somerton man. The crossed-out line. One detail that's often overlooked: there was a fifth line that was crossed out. Why? Did he make a mistake and correct it? Was it a first draft that he revised? Did someone else cross it out after his death? The crossed-out line suggests the code was being actively worked on, not just copied from somewhere else. This implies it was original, created by the Somerton man himself. For 73 years, the Somerton man remained unidentified. But in the 2010s, advances in DNA technology opened new possibilities. The DNA journey. 2009, Robin Thompson, Jestin's son, provides a DNA sample before his death. Researchers hope to determine if the Somerton man was Robin's biological father. But at the time, there's no DNA from the Somerton man to compare it to. 2011, researchers petitioned to exhume the Somerton man's body. The body was buried in Adelaide's West Terrace Cemetery in 1949. Initially, the petition is denied due to legal and ethical concerns. 2018, renewed petition with support from forensic experts. South Australia's Attorney General grants permission to exhume the body. But the exhumation is delayed due to COVID-19 pandemic. 2021, the body is finally exhumed. After 72 years in the ground, researchers hope there's enough DNA left to extract. The exhumation. May 19, 2021. Forensic teams carefully excavate the grave. The coffin is remarkably well preserved. Inside, the Somerton man's skeleton is intact. Hair samples and bone samples are carefully extracted. These samples are sent to multiple laboratories for DNA analysis. The DNA analysis. The DNA extracted is degraded, expected after 73 years. But modern forensic techniques can work with even small amounts of damaged DNA. The samples are sent to Forensic Science South Australia. Colossus Biosciences, a Texas-based company specializing in ancient DNA. Several universities with expertise in forensic genealogy. The technique used, forensic genealogy. This is the same method used to identify the Golden State Killer in 2018. How it works. 1. Extract DNA from the remains. 2. Sequence the entire genome. 3. Upload the DNA profile to genealogy databases, like GEDmatch. 4. Find distant relatives who have uploaded their DNA. 5. Build a family tree working backwards. 6. Identify the unknown person. The breakthrough, July 26, 2022. Professor Derek Abbott from the University of Adelaide announced. We have identified the Somerton man. His name, Charles Webb. Also known as Carl Charles Webb. Born, November 16, 1905. Birthplace, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Occupation, electrical engineer and instrument maker. The identification was made through forensic genealogy. DNA from the Somerton man matched distant cousins who had uploaded their DNA to genealogy websites. By building a family tree and working backwards, researchers identified Charles Webb as the most likely match. Who was Charles Webb? Charles Webb was born in Melbourne in 1905 to Richard Augustus Webb and Eliza Amelia Morris Grace. His parents. Father, Richard Webb, an accountant. Mother, Eliza Webb, née Grace. Charles had one sibling, a brother named Roy Webb. Education and career. Charles was educated in Melbourne and showed aptitude for science and engineering. He worked as an electrical engineer and instrument maker. Records show he worked for various engineering firms in Melbourne in the 1930s and 1940s. Marriage. In 1941, Charles married Dorothy Doff Robertson, known as Doff or Doro. The marriage was tumultuous. According to records found after the identification, the couple separated in the mid-1940s. Dorothy filed for divorce, citing desertion. Charles disappeared from public records around 1947. Dorothy later remarried and died in 1995. Why did Charles Webb disappear? After the identification, researchers searched for more information about Charles Webb's life. They found 1. Marriage breakdown, his divorce was bitter. Friends said he was devastated. 2. Financial troubles, he had debts and struggled financially after World War II. 3. Mental health, some records suggest he suffered from depression. 4. Drifting, after leaving Melbourne, he seems to have moved around Australia, living in rooming houses and temporary accommodations. By 1948, Charles Webb had effectively disappeared from society. He left Melbourne, broke contact with family, and lived anonymously. The connection to Adelaide. Researchers are still investigating why Charles Webb came to Adelaide. Theories. 1. Starting over, he wanted to begin a new life far from Melbourne and his failed marriage. 2. Work, there may have been engineering work available in Adelaide. 3. Connection to Jestin, this is the big question. Did Charles Webb know Jessica Thomson, Jestin? So far, no evidence has been found linking Charles Webb to Jestin before his death. But researchers are still investigating. The physical match. The DNA identification was confirmed by comparing physical characteristics. Photos of Charles Webb from the 1930s and 1940s show a strong resemblance to the Somerton man. Same facial structure. Same build. Same hair color. Same height. The identification is considered definitive. You would think that identifying the Somerton man would solve the mystery. It didn't. In fact, it created new questions. Question 1. Why did he remove all labels? Now that we know Charles Webb was going through a divorce and financial hardship, one theory emerges. He wanted to disappear. Removing labels ensured that if something happened to him, he couldn't be traced back to his old life. He didn't want his estranged wife or creditors finding him. But this doesn't fully explain the elaborate measures. Why hide in a secret pocket the unsolved paper? Why the coded message? These actions suggest something beyond just wanting to disappear. Question 2. How did he die? The identification doesn't explain the cause of death. We now know who he was, but we still don't know how or why he died. The poison remains unidentified. Was it suicide? Murder? Accident? New research into Charles Webb's life might provide clues. Suicide theory strengthened. Charles was reportedly depressed after his marriage ended. He had financial troubles. He had isolated himself from family and friends. Tamam should, it is finished, makes more sense as a suicide note. The peaceful position of his body suggests he accepted death. But counter-arguments remain. The elaborate identity concealment seems excessive for suicide. The code still doesn't make sense. The connection to Jestin is unexplained. Murder theory still viable. Someone from his past may have tracked him down. Creditors? A spurned lover? An angry ex-spouse? The poison suggests premeditation. The lack of struggle suggests he knew his killer. Question 3. What about Jestin? This is the biggest remaining mystery. Did Charles Webb know Jessica Thomson, Jestin? So far, researchers have found no evidence connecting them. No letters. No photographs. No shared acquaintances. No records of Charles Webb ever being in Glenelg before 1948. But Jestin's reaction when she saw his face cannot be ignored. She recognized him. New theories. Theory A, brief encounter. Perhaps Charles Webb and Jestin met briefly in the weeks before his death. Maybe he was a customer at a shop where she worked, or they met at a social event. She recognized his face but didn't know him in any meaningful way. Theory B, mistaken identity. Perhaps Jestin thought he was someone else. Maybe he resembled someone from her past. Theory C, the secret remains. Perhaps there was a connection, but it was never documented. An affair, a brief relationship, something kept secret. Jestin took it to her grave. Question 4, was Robin Thompson Charles Webb's son? This question can now be answered scientifically. Robin Thompson's DNA, collected before his death in 2009, can be compared to Charles Webb's DNA. As of 2024, this analysis is underway but results haven't been publicly released. If the DNA shows Charles Webb was Robin's father, it would confirm a relationship between Charles and Justin. It would explain Justin's emotional reaction. It would suggest Charles came to Adelaide to see his son. It would reframe the entire case as a tragic love story. If the DNA shows no paternal relationship, the mystery of Justin's reaction deepens. We're back to square one on why his phone number was in the book. The connection remains unexplained. Question 5. What does the code mean? Even with Charles Webb identified, the code remains unsolved. Researchers are now searching for Charles Webb's personal papers, letters he wrote, any other examples of his handwriting or coding systems. Perhaps Charles had a personal shorthand or notation system that can be deciphered with more context about his life. Or perhaps it truly was meant only for him, and possibly one other person, and will never be solved. Question 6. Why the Rubaiyat? Now that we know Charles Webb was an engineer and not a suspected spy, the choice of the Rubaiyat seems even stranger. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is a collection of philosophical poetry about mortality, fate, and the fleeting nature of life. Key themes. Death is inevitable. Life is short. Enjoy the present moment. Don't worry about the afterlife. One famous verse translated by Fitzgerald. The moving finger writes, and, having writ, moves on, nor all thy piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all thy tears wash out a word of it. This is a deeply fatalistic philosophy. Perhaps Charles Webb, facing the end of his marriage, financial ruin, and isolation, found solace in these poems. Perhaps Tamam Shud was his way of saying, my story is finished. I accept the ending. But why give the book to Justin, if he did? Or why did someone else have it? This remains mysterious. Question 7. The spy theory, dead or alive? With Charles Webb identified as an electrical engineer, not a known intelligence operative, does the spy theory die? Not necessarily. Some researchers argue. 1. Engineers were recruited. Intelligence agencies often recruited engineers for technical operations. 2. Cover identity. Charles Webb, electrical engineer, could have been a cover. 3. The tradecraft, the removed labels, the code, the poison, all still suggest training. For documents could be missing, intelligence files are often destroyed or remain classified. But most researchers now believe the spy theory is unlikely. Charles Webb was probably just a man who wanted to disappear, not a secret agent. After 75 years of investigation, modern forensics, and the 2022 identification, what is the most likely explanation for the Somerton man case? Here's what we know with confidence. The Somerton man was Charles Webb, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. He was going through a difficult divorce and had financial problems. He deliberately removed all identification from his clothing. He died from poison, but the specific poison has never been identified. There was some connection to Jessica Thompson, Justin, though the nature of that connection is unclear. He had a coded message that has never been solved. Tamam Shud was hidden in a secret pocket. The most likely scenario, 60% probability. Charles Webb's final days, a reconstruction. Mid-1947, Charles Webb's marriage to Dorothy collapses. She files for divorce, citing desertion. Late 1947, early 1948, Charles leaves Melbourne, cutting ties with family and friends. He's depressed, financially struggling, and wants to start over. He removes labels from his clothing. He doesn't want to be traced back to his old life. He adopts the name T. Keane, or it's given to him at a rooming house. He drifts around Australia, taking temporary work. November 1948, Charles arrives in Adelaide. Why Adelaide? Possible reasons. Work opportunity. Random choice. Someone he knew lived there, Jeston. November 30, 1948, Charles checks a suitcase at Adelaide railway station. Perhaps he's planning to stay in Adelaide. Or perhaps he's planning to leave soon and is storing his belongings. That same day, he goes to Somerton Beach. He has with him a copy of The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a book that resonates with his fatalistic mindset. In the book, he's written a coded message. What does it mean? Perhaps names of people who wronged him. A personal reminder of why he's doing what he's about to do. A final message to someone, Jeston. He tears out the final page, Tamam Shud. It is finished. And sews it into a secret pocket. This is his suicide note. December 1, 1948, early morning, 2 to 4 a.m. Charles Webb takes poison. What poison? Likely something he had access to through his engineering work, perhaps a chemical compound, perhaps medication. He chose a poison that would kill quickly but leave minimal trace. He sits down on Somerton Beach, his back against the seawall. He crosses his legs. He rests one arm on the wall. He looks out at the ocean. And he waits. The poison takes effect. His stomach hemorrhages. His organs fail. He dies peacefully, looking at the stars, listening to the waves. By dawn, Charles Webb is dead. And the mystery begins. Why this scenario is most likely. One explains the identity concealment. He wanted to die anonymously, away from his past life. 2 explains Tamam Shud, a poetic way of saying the end. 3 explains the poison, self-administered, chosen to be relatively painless and quick. 4 explains the location, a beautiful, peaceful place to die. 5 explains the lack of struggle, he accepted death. 6 explains the suitcase, he was keeping options open, stay in Adelaide or move on, but ultimately chose to end his life. Problems with this scenario. 1. Jeston's reaction. If she didn't know him well, why the emotional response? 2. The code. Why write a coded message if it's just a suicide? 3. The book in the car. How did the Rubaiyat end up in an anonymous person's car? 4. Robin's resemblance. If Charles wasn't Robin's father, why do they share unusual physical traits? These questions keep the mystery alive. Alternative scenario, 30% probability. A secret relationship. Charles Webb and Jessica Thompson had a brief affair in 1946 to 1947. Robin Thompson, born in 1947, was Charles Webb's biological son, pending DNA confirmation. When Charles's marriage collapsed, he came to Adelaide to see Jessica and Robin. But Jessica had moved on. She was with Prosper Thompson. She told Charles to leave and never come back. Devastated, Charles decided to end his life. He wrote the coded message as a final letter to Jessica, something only she would understand. He tore out Tamam Shud as a message, our story is finished. He left the book in her vicinity, or mailed it, as a final goodbye. Then he took poison and died on the beach near her home. Jessica recognized him immediately when police showed her his face, but she lied to protect her reputation and her marriage to Prosper. She carried the guilt and the secret for the rest of her life. This scenario explains Justin's reaction, Robin's resemblance, the coded message, meant for her, the location, near her home, her lifelong silence. Least likely scenario, 10% probability. Murder/intelligence operation. Charles Webb was involved in something, espionage, organized crime, witness to something, that got him killed. He was murdered with an untraceable poison. The elaborate identity concealment was to prevent retaliation against his family. The code was a real intelligence message. Justin was part of the operation. This scenario is exciting but lacks evidence. December 1, 1948. A man sat down on Somerton Beach and died. For 73 years, he had no name. He was simply the Somerton Man, one of the world's most enduring mysteries. In 2022, DNA technology finally gave him his identity. Charles Webb. Born 1905. Electrical engineer. Husband. Brother. Son. A man whose life fell apart. A man who wanted to disappear. But knowing his name hasn't solved the mystery. We still don't know exactly how he died. We still don't know why he came to Adelaide. We still don't know the nature of his connection to Jessica Thompson. We still can't crack the code. And we still don't know if his death was suicide, murder, or something else entirely. The Somerton Man case reminds us that even in the age of DNA technology, some mysteries remain. Some secrets die with the people who held them. Jessica Thompson knew something. She took it to her grave in 2007. Charles Webb knew something. He took it to his grave in 1948. And we're left with questions. Beautiful, haunting, impossible questions. For Charles Webb. For Jessica Thompson. For Robin, who never knew the truth about his father. For everyone who has ever wondered, what happened on Somerton Beach that night? The code remains unbroken. The truth remains hidden. But Charles Webb is no longer unknown. He has his name back. He has his dignity back. And perhaps, after 75 years, that's enough. This is Cold Case Dossier, file number 005. The Somerton Man. 73 years unknown. Finally identified. Forever mysterious. Unsolved. Unforgotten. And eternally enigmatic.